Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli wa nusallimu ala rasulih al-kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawm ad-din. Faqad qala Allahu tabaraka wa ta'ala fil Qur'an al-kareem wal furqan al-hamid. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wa hafidhu ala as-salawati was-salati al-wusta وقوموا لله قانتين. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تقبل صلاة بغير طهور ولا صدقة من غلول. صدق الله مولانا العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ربنا يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح ربي زدني علما. اللهم صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, tonight inshallah we continue with the discussion of Babul Hadathi fi Salaah, section dealing with the incurrence of impurities while one is performing their Salah. And Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam, he has mentioned that La tuqbalu salatun bi ghayri tuhurin. Salah will not be accepted without purification. And for sure, we as believers, we accept the ahadith of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Sometimes there's one tradition of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and then there's another tradition of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So the ulama and the fuqaha would have looked at one tradition, and there may have been another tradition. The point that we are getting at, my dear respected brothers and elders, when we get into the masail, inshallah, we will see that Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said Salah will not be accepted without purification. But we are going to speak for a bit, inshallah, about a portion of time a person will not be in purification, but his Salah will still be accepted based upon another tradition of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So we will come to that in a very short while, inshallah. And the ruling is, if a person experiences impurity, hadath, the breaking of wudu in his salah will become invalid. If he experiences the hadath al-akbar, whereby ghusl becomes wajib. If a person is performing salah and something happens whereby ghusl becomes necessary, then his salah becomes invalid. If he experiences hadath al-asghar, the minor impurity, then it would either be two things. The hadath al-asghar will either be ikhtiyari, optional, or ghayri ikhtiyari, unintentional. Ikhtiyari means it was caused or brought about by the will of man. And ghayri ikhtiyari means that it was not caused or brought about by the will of man. If it was ikhtiyari, the salah will become invalid. For example, a person laughs loudly in his salah, or he sticks himself and allows blood to come out from his body, or he forces himself to pass wind. In such cases, a person's salah will become invalid, because all these actions were carried out by the will of man, it was carried out intentionally. If it is ghayri ikhtiyari, then there are two conditions in this. It is either something that occurs very rarely, such as madness, unconsciousness, or the death of the imam, or something that occurs often, such as the passing of wind, urinating, passing stool, or the emission of precoital fluid, etc. If it is something that occurs very rarely, the salah will become invalid. And if it is something that occurs often, the salah will not become invalidated. Instead, after having his wudu, the person has the choice and permission to either continue his salah from where his wudu had broken, or to repeat his entire salah. It is, however, better to repeat the entire salah, and in order for him to continue the salah, there are certain prerequisites. A very long paragraph that Maulana Shafali Thanwi rahmatullahi alayhi has mentioned in Bahishti Ziwar, and in Hidayah it mentions man sabaqahu al-hadathu fi salati in sarafa fa in kana imaman istakhlafa wa tawadda'a wa bana. A person who hadath, minor ritual impurity, precedes him in salah, he will turn away. If he is the imam, he will appoint somebody else. Wa tawadda'a, he will make wudu, and he will build upon his salah. Wal qiyasu al ayyastaqbila. Qiyas is that an analogy would lead us to believe that such an individual will have to start over the salah, and that is the opinion of Imam Shafi rahmatullahi alayhi. Why? Because we are talking about hadath and impurity, and this negates salah. Also, when we are speaking about a person walking away, a person turning away from the qibla, these things break salah. So therefore, it resembles the condition of hadathul amdu, the intentional breaking of wudu. So, what we are seeing here, my dear respected brothers and elders, there are different ways whereby a person who is performing salah, their wudu can become broken. And this is the topic of hadath fi salah, impurity that is incurred while a person is performing their salah. And it can occur in many ways. It can occur in many ways. And there are two divisions. One is optional and one intentional. One is unintentional and one is intentional. For those types of hadathul asghar, minor impurities, a person breaks their wudu, right? Then this would cause a person passes wind unintentionally. It would cause a person to become in a state of minor ritual impurity, right? There are two states that we have mentioned under the chapter of najasat: al-hadath al-asghar and al-hadath al-akbar. Al-hadath al-asghar means how a person can break their wudu by passing wind, urinating, defecating. All these actions would cause the wudu to become broken. When they fulfill these acts, they have now become impure in a minor state. Then there is al-hadath al-akbar. When a person has sexual relations, they are in a state of hadath al-akbar. If a person has ejaculation, emission of sperm, now they are in a state of hadath al-akbar. Means that in a state of major ritual impurity, in order for them to become pure once again, they have to do that which is known as ghusl, the compulsory bath. In order to obtain purity from minor ritual impurities, we can perform wudu. So, what has been mentioned here, my dear respected brothers and elders, firstly, if a person is performing salah, we are speaking about he can continue his salah when a certain type of impurity comes upon him. Exempted from this and is al-hadathul akbar, that a person is performing salah. For example, a person is performing salah and it's just by way of example, let's say a man, he had reached the point whereby he and his wife was foreplaying, but they did not have relations as yet. And then he went to perform his salah, and he had emission of sperm. Or for some other reason, there was emission of sperm with excitement. Then his salah becomes totally invalid. He cannot continue the salah as we are speaking about. We have mentioned before, there are different reasons why emission of sperm can come out. Sometimes it can be because of a strain, someone picked up something heavy, or it can either be because of sexual relations, a person is excited, so sperm can come out. If it comes out of excitement, then according to the Hanafi jurists, this would cause ghusl to become essential. If it comes out because of some other reason, and it does not come out with excitement and pleasure, then it would not cause ghusl to become essential. So, for the sake of easiness of the argument, inshallah, we are taking that this person, that's why we brought that example, he was either thinking about relations, or something got him excited, and then he was performing his salah, and then in the midst of his salah, he had ejaculation, he got in the state of hadath al-akbar, he has to perform ghusl, he cannot continue the salah anymore. His salah becomes invalidated. Then there is al-hadath al-asghar, minor ritual impurity, which is, for example, by passing wind, and we will use passing wind to make it easy also, inshallah. If a person is performing salah and they want to pass wind, so they intentionally pass the wind, they can no longer continue this salah and build upon the salah. They are not the ones that we are speaking about who can go and perform wudu and come back. The person who intentionally breaks his wudu, all his entire salah becomes finished, invalidated. He cannot build upon it anymore. And he will have to make wudu and come back and start over his salah. On the contrary, the person that we are speaking about is that one who incurred minor ritual impurity by, for example, breaking his wudu unintentionally. Like sometimes a person is holding up their wind, and then oops, all of a sudden it comes out. They did not do that intentionally, right? Intentionally means the person said, I am going to break my wind, and they let it out. Unintentionally means that they did not intend that it come out, but it by mistake, by accident, it came out unintentionally. So therefore, in this case, this is where, my dear respected brothers and elders, a person would be able to stop their salah. It is like you are putting the salah on pause, go perform wudu, and come back and complete the salah. Of course, as has been mentioned, istiqbal is afdal. To start over the salah is better. To start over the salah is better. However, sometimes we may want to implement this ruling, and because of need and necessity, for example, sometimes we are performing salah in the last few moments of the time, last few minutes of the time, and if we know how to implement this ruling, then we simply, because our wudu broke unintentionally, make wudu and come back, and we will also speak about all the conditions that have to be fulfilled in order for us to continue this salah, inshallah. Right? So this is just to show us how it may become important for us to understand these rulings, and at the same time understand the rulings to the extent whereby we do not break that which is called bina upon salah. If we break this continuation or possible continuation of the salah, we can no longer continue upon the salah. The first portion of our salah has become invalidated. We have to start over the entire salah, whether timing of salah comes out or not, right? Whether the timing of that salah comes out or not. So we mentioned about al-hadath al-akbar, the major ritual impurity, that would cause the wudu to become broken. A person cannot build upon their salah, right? They have to make ghusl, as a matter of fact. But then you have al-hadath al-asghar, a person broke their wudu. Two categories. One person, he broke his wudu intentionally, the other person unintentionally. The intentional breaking of wudu would cause the person not being capable of starting over his salah, continuing his salah. And he would have to start over his salah. But unintentional, a person accidentally, not by intention, broke his wudu, he will be able to go back, make wudu, come back and continue the salah from where he left off. Other examples that have been given of if a person intentionally, right? Well, if a person laughs loudly, right? Their wudu becomes broken. If a person laughs loud in salah, qahqaha, their wudu becomes broken. We mentioned that in the breakers of wudu. And Maulana Shafari Tanwi rahmatullahi alayhi has also mentioned that if that which occurs that is ghairi ikhtiyari, that is unintentional, it's not by the person's choice that it happens, but it is very rare, such as madness or unconsciousness or the death of the imam, then a person in such a state would not be able to continue the salah. A person in such a state will not be able to continue the salah. So Imam Shafi rahmatullahi alayhi, he says that turning away from the Qibla, walking and so on, would cause the salah to become invalid. But Ahnaf says there's a hadith of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The Hanafi jurists are of the opinion that based upon this hadith of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, whosoever vomits or has nosebleed or experiences the emission of prostatic fluid in his salah, let him turn away and let him build upon his salah as long as he does not speak. This is what the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam said. Also, Nabi alayhi salatu wasallam said, if one of you is performing salah and he vomits or he has nosebleed, let him place his hand upon his mouth and put someone who did not experience this type of impurity, and then he would further go and perform his salah. He would go make wudu and come back and perform his salah. And istinaf is afdal, to start over the salah, to repeat back that particular salah is better. And this is something, again, out of precaution. We will mention the things whereby the person, he must not talk, as we see in the hadith of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Things like speaking. A person cannot speak when they are going to make their wudu and come back to continue the salah, right? So when things of this nature occur, a person not intending to vomit, the person didn't put their hand down their throat because they couldn't handle it anymore. A bit of vomit came out. The person probably caught it in their rumal or something of that nature, and they're running out of the masjid, right? And their wudu broke in that instance because it came to the amount of a mouthful, whatever have you, or a little bit of prostatic fluid came out. Then in such instances, the person would be able to do building upon the salah as long as he does not speak, as long as he does not speak. And Ahnaf says, yes, of course, though it resembles, as Imam Shafi is trying to argue with the Hanafi jurists on that point with regards to, everyone also agrees that intentional breaking of wudu means you cannot build upon the salah. We say yes, it resembles the scenario. However, based upon this hadith, we would leave off the qiyas, we would leave off the analogy that breaking of wudu and turning away from the qibla and walking, it would break wudu and break the salah. We would leave off this type of qiyas based upon the hadith of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But as has been mentioned by Maulana Shaf Ali Tanvi rahmatullahi alayhi, if it is something that occurs very rarely, the salah will become invalid, as we have mentioned, madness, unconsciousness, etc. But if it is something that occurs often, like the passing of wind, urinating, passing of stool, emission of prostatic fluid, precoital fluid, then one can build upon his salah. He will go back, make wudu, come back and continue the salah. There are certain prerequisites in the case where he wishes to continue his salah from where his wudu had broken. One, he should not offer any rukn in the state of hadath. The person who experiences this impurity while he is performing his salah, he should not continue an entire rukn like ruku or sajda in the state of impurity. This must be done immediately. As soon as the person breaks their wudu, they must turn away and leave immediately to perform their salah, to go and perform their wudu. So they should not offer any rukn in the state of hadath. Two, he should not offer any rukn while walking. For example, while he is going towards or returning from wudu, he should not recite the Quran, because recitation of the Quran is a rukn of salah. A rukn of salah means that which is a pillar of salah. It is something that is a condition of the salah, right? To recite Quran. A person should not say anything. He is reciting Quran, he would stop, go perform his wudu and come back. Not recite Quran when he is going to make wudu. 3, he should not do any act which negates salah, nor should he do anything which is possible to refrain from. He should not do anything else now, like speaking. Speaking in salah breaks wudu, breaks salah, right? Anything that we do in salah that would break it, it does not mean now that the person who is going to make his wudu and come back, it is allowed for him to do these things. No, that will break his actual bina upon salah, building upon the salah. As we have mentioned, it is like the person pauses only to go and make wudu and come back and complete the salah. So if the person starts to speak, then it would cause his salah to become invalid. He would not be able to build upon it anymore. Or he goes and starts to sweep the masjid, do something else other than going to make wudu and come back. For once he experiences any hadath, he should not delay in stopping any rukn without any valid excuse. Instead, he should go immediately to make his wudu. However, if there is a valid excuse, there is no harm in delaying. For example, there are many safs, and he is standing at the first saf, and it is difficult to break through the safs. Mention is being made here that we are saying a person should immediately leave their salah and go and perform wudu and come back. When we break our wudu, it's not permissible to perform the salah anymore. This is why mention is made about not prolonging the salah to the extent of fulfilling a rukn, right? But there may be instances whereby the person, it may really not make sense that he tries to go, or he cannot leave one time. because of the amount of people that are behind him. Because of the amount of people that are behind him. Two things can happen. One, if he is not going to build upon his salah, and he is going to make wudu and perform his salah, a totally new salah afterwards, he can sit and wait. He can sit and wait, stand and wait as the case may be, and not continue the salah, because he cannot continue the salah in a state of impurity. Two, if he wants to build upon the salah, it comes like he is extending the pause of the salah that we have mentioned. He has put his salah on pause, and he is waiting for the time that he gets to go and cut through the safs to make his wudu and thereafter finish his salah. And we will come to see such an individual, as long as the salah is completed, he does not have to come back to his place. He will be able to fulfill his salah where he makes his wudu or in a suitable place. We will come to that inshaAllah. If a munfarid, a person performing salah by himself, experiences hadath, minor ritual impurity, it is permissible for him to make wudu immediately, and he should complete his wudu as quickly as possible. But this should be done with due consideration to all the sunnahs and mustahabs of wudu. In the meanwhile, he should not engage in any conversation. If water is available nearby, he should not go to any place that is further away. In short, he should not do anything more than what is necessary. On completion of his wudu, he should continue his salah at the very place of wudu, and this is preferable. Or he could go to his original place. It is preferable to break his first salah by making salam for it, and after completing his wudu, to repeat his entire salah. So now we are speaking about a munfarid. The persons we were speaking about just now were people who were performing salah, and we will come to the imam just now inshallah. But we were speaking about a person performing salah in Jama'ah. This is why we mentioned he will wait. If he cannot cut through the lines to go back and make wudu, he will wait. And either, as we said, when he makes his wudu, he starts over the salah, or if he did not do anything to break his salah, he can continue, build upon the salah. Now a munfarid, a person who is performing salah alone, he breaks his wudu unintentionally. Such an individual, he is at home, he is performing his salah, he should quickly make wudu, come back and perform his salah. When we say quickly make wudu, mention is made here, it does not necessarily mean he has to just perform the fara'id of wudu and perform the compulsory elements of wudu, washing the face alone, then the hands, right? Then making masaf, quarter of the head, then washing the 2 feet. He can, mashallah, do the entire of wudu, washing the hands up to the wrist 3 times, then putting water into the mouth 3 times, gargling, etc. until the end. So, perform the wudu with all the sunnahs and the mustahabs. At the same time, he cannot say, is the food finished? He cannot speak. He cannot talk to anyone while he is doing this, if he wants to continue and build upon his salah. If water is available close by, he cannot go further to get water to make wudu. He has to use the closest available point of wudu. Right? So only do that which is necessary. And when he finishes his wudu now, he can perform the salah at the place where he performed wudu. Doesn't mean in a wet place, at a suitable place where he made wudu. Let's say he was in his room, he came down and he made wudu in a very nearby point. He can finish and complete his salah in the living room, etc. And previously he was in his bedroom, or he can go back to his original place. He can go back to his bedroom and complete the salah where he actually started. But Maulana Shafali Tanwi rahmatullahi alayhi, he mentions it's preferable for him to break his first salah by making salam for it, As we have mentioned, a person in that position, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, either on one side, some scholars mention, some of them have mentioned two sides, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, complete his wudu and repeat the entire salah, and that is best. Right? Repeat the entire salah, and that is best. We will now go on to the imam. If the imam were to experience hadath, he should immediately go make his wudu, even if he is in the last qa'dah. It is preferable for him to choose the one whom he feels to be most suitable for imamat from among the muqtadis. It is better to make a mudrik his deputy. It is also permissible to make the masbuk his deputy. He should... Now, let us explain this inshallah. So, we are speaking about the imam in salah, and again, where it might be a good reason for the imam to pull somebody in front because the imam broke his wudu, right? And now he will pull somebody again from who is behind him. And this is why Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam said, لِيَلِينِي أُولُو الْأَحْلَامِ وَالنُّهَا مِنْكُمْ. Let become close to me people of understanding and those who have reached the age of puberty, right? Men of understanding, men of intellect, so they will know what to do, inshallah. The people who are aware of the laws of the Sharia, they should be there standing close to the imam, in case something like this occurs. So now we are seeing that the imam, even in the last qa'dah, the last sitting, he is there. He didn't give assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah as yet, but his wudu becomes broken. What he would need to do is pull somebody in front, let them finish their at-tahiyat and their darul and their dua, and then they can make salams with the imam. It is preferable for him to choose the one who is most suitable for imamat. But of course it means that again, the people who are right there behind him will be suitable, inshallah. It's not like he will stand up and go looking through the crowd and so on. It will be somebody who is right behind him. And it is better to appoint someone who was there for the entire time of the salah, right? It means that, remember, there can be people who will stand up and make up the missed rakats that they have missed with the imam. It will also be permissible for him to pull such people who are called the masbuk. But then, after they have completed, that's a different thing altogether. They will have to pull somebody else, right? Now, this is not only necessarily talking about the last sitting. Let's say, for example, you were in the second sitting and the imam pulls a masbuk. He didn't know the imam was a masbuk. The person behind him was a masbuk. What would happen, to make a long story short, is that the person who is the masbuk, he will continue, let's say it's 3 rakats or 4 rakats with the imam. And when it is time to say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, the person who is the late comer that we explained in previous sessions, he will not be able to say assalamu alaikum with the people. He will now have to pull somebody else, let them say salam with the people, and he will continue with the completion of his salah, which he had missed before. But in this case, where the imam broke his wudu in the last qa'dah, he will be able to pull somebody up. They will complete their tashahhud, their darud and their dua, and then they will say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah with the people, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Right? So, better to pull somebody who was there from the beginning, but it is also permissible to make the masbuk the deputy. Once the imam has repeated his wudu, he should join the jama'ah and become a follower of his deputy. Once the imam goes to make wudu, he should come back and follow the imam that he has appointed, if the jama'ah is still in progress. If he did not go and join the jama'ah, but instead stood and followed his deputy from the very place where he made wudu, then this will only be permissible if there is no barrier between them, or he is not very far away from the jama'ah. If this is not the case, it will not be permissible to follow the deputy from the place of wudu. If the imam goes to perform his wudu and he performs his wudu, he has to come back and perform the salah following the jama'ah there. Or he can join the jama'ah in a place whereby it does not seem that he is actually cut off from the jama'ah, very far from the jama'ah, right? So if he is close, he has to join the jama'ah as long as the jama'ah is in progress. And as long as there is no barrier between them, whereby, or he's very far from the jama'ah, there's no barrier between him, whereby he can understand he cannot, if there's a barrier there, whereby he cannot understand where the imam is, then it would not be permissible to follow the jama'ah. Because in order to follow the jama'ah, you have to actually either hear them or see them, right? See what the imam is doing, hear what the imam is doing. So this is when the jama'ah is still in progress. However, if the jama'ah is already over, he can complete his salah wherever he wishes, either at the place of wudu or at his original place, right? So the imam can either come back, join the jama'ah where the jama'ah is being completed, if the jama'ah, or he can stay at his place of wudu and complete the salah there, if the salah of the Khalifa that he has appointed has already become completed, right? So in the first instance, where the salah of the deputy is not over, he has the choice of coming, joining the jama'ah and following the deputy. If he is behind here in the place of making wudu and it is like he has actually joined the sufuf, he is connected to the jama'ah, he can also stay there and follow the jama'ah. If, however, the salah in jama'ah is over, he can perform his wudu, the place where he has finished his wudu, he can finish his salah there, do bina upon salah there, or he can come back to the place where the jama'ah has actually stood. If water is available inside the actual masjid, then according to Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanwi rahmatullahi alayhi, it is not necessary to appoint anyone as his deputy. He has the choice to either appoint or not to appoint. If he does not appoint a deputy, he should go and make his wudu, come back and lead the jama'ah. In the meantime, the muqtadi should wait for him. Mention is made here, this is not normal in our general jama'ats. Very rare you will go in a masjid, but sometimes you do see it, right? Like for example, you have the imam quarters, and there's a place right there that the imam normally makes wudu, and he comes into by the mihrab there, right? So the imam, he makes wudu immediately and then comes back to join the jama'ah. So he can do bina upon bina there, and the community can wait upon him, according to what Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanwi rahmatullahi alayhi is mentioning in Bahishti Zewar. And the muqtadis will wait on him. Once a person appoints a deputy, he no more remains an imam, but becomes a muqtadi of his deputy. Therefore, if the jama'ah is over, the imam should complete his salah as a lahiq. Right? So very important here that if the imam appoints someone to lead the salah on his behalf, when he is going to complete the salah, he was doing recitation before, he will not do recitation now. And a lahiq, the ruling of the lahiq with regards to qiraat, there will be no qiraat for the lahiq. The person who is leading the salah, their qiraat will be for the lahiq, right? And another example of the lahiq is, for example, sometimes the leader of the salah is a traveler, and then there are people behind who are resident. So the people behind have to stand and perform one rakat as in the case of Maghrib. Sorry, not one rakat as in the case of Maghrib. 2 rakats as in the case of Asr, Dhuhr and Isha. So when they stand up to perform the remaining 2 rakats, after the Musafir Imam has finished his 2 rakats, then they will just stand up as a lahiq, one who has found the Imam, but they will not recite any qiraat. Just stand for the amount of time to recite Subhanallah 3 times, Tasbih 3 times, and then go down into ruku. So likewise the Imam, whom has appointed somebody else, he will not be an Imam anymore to recite Quran. He will now be a lahiq, and he will be a follower of the one he appointed. So if the Jama'at is over, the Imam should continue his Salah as a lahiq. If the Muqtadi experiences hadath, he should also immediately go to repeat his wudu. On completing his wudu, he should join the Jama'at if it is still in progress. If not, he should complete his Salah on his own. If the Jama'ah is still in progress, he should go and stand in his original place. However, if there is nothing between him and the Imam that can prevent him from following the Imam, then it would be permissible for him to stand at the place of wudu and follow the Imam from there. If the Jama'at is over, he has the choice of going to his original place and offering his Salah, or offering at the place of wudu. The latter option is preferable with regards to performing his Salah at the place of wudu. So, as we have mentioned before, the Muqtadi, his Salah will be like the one who is performing Salah by himself individually. He breaks his wudu, he is following the Imam, he would go perform his wudu. If the Imam's Salah is still in progress, he can come back to his place, continue with the Imam. If not, he can stay at his place where he made wudu. If he can follow the Imam because there's not a big span between the place of making wudu and the other sufuf, or if the Jama'ah is over, he can simply stay where he performed his wudu and complete his Salah. Right, so in a nutshell, my dear respected brothers and elders, this is how we would treat the Salah of an individual following the Imam, or a person performing Salah by themselves when they experience Hadathul Asghar, minor ritual impurities in Salah. Right, so again, this is something that is done, and we mentioned initially it is preferable to do istinaf and start over the Salah. However, inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to act upon this masla in a very proper way, so that if we act upon it, we do not break our Salah and think that we are continuing our Salah. Right? We cannot talk, we cannot speak when we go to make wudu and so on. We should go to the closest place to make wudu, right? And don't do any other thing to break wudu, like we go to the washroom, use the washroom, then come back, make wudu and then come. No, that's not the case. We have to make wudu and immediately continue the Salah. Right? So, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inshallah give us the tawfiq, right? Increase our knowledge inshallah, and make us be able to understand these masail and act upon them whenever or wherever necessary. Again, it is only for the sake of mentioning. We can, if it is difficult, we do that which is easy and start over the Salah inshallah. Right? So jazakumullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وأدمعي حرّ